Hi, this is Howie from Prime Your Pump, entertaining and actionable self-improvement. And this week's video is about how to minimize the damage from screwing up. And of course, we all screw up. And in my opinion, the optimal way to minimize the damage from screwing up is not to cover up the screw up in the first place. The shorter the amount of time between the screw up and the confession of the screw up, the less damage the screw up will cause. And I believe this is the case because screw ups usually get compounded very quickly. The more compounded the screw up becomes, the more serious the damage it will cause. Lies generate more lies, and before you know it, you're in way over your head. And we know in manufacturing, for each step, in a process that you move away from a mistake, the cost of the mistake goes up 10 times. So as an example, if you make a mistake at step 1, at step 2, there's 10 times the cost to fix it. And at step 3, 100 times. And at step 4, 1,000 times. Personally, if I screw up, it's my habit to confess immediately. So as an example, I was driving, down Red Road, getting ready to make a left onto Ponce de Leon. And there was a car in front of me that was stopping my speedy, and efficient move on the way home. And I don't wait well, and I got very frustrated that they weren't turning fast enough for me. So when they did turn, I pulled up next to them, and what I did was I shot them the opposite of this figure formation, and I screamed out a nasty explicative, and then I looked at them and I realized it was one of my students. And I saw the look of horror on her face. And to make things worse, now this is me, acting in a stereotypical way, and I know that's a wrong thing to do, but sometimes our brains act in stereotypes, and for all the movies I've seen in my life, I had the impression that Chinese people pay a higher tax for upsetting authority than we do in the United States. So I can only imagine that an American student would have been horrified, but she was horrified to the 10th power, And I drove home immediately and confessed to my wife. I had to confess. And the thing is that if you're in this situation, this assumes that I would honestly try, to never do it again and truly feel remorse. That's an important part of this thing. So you have to consider the long-term effect of not confessing to a screw-up. It can destroy honesty and trust in a relationship. And remember, trust can take a lifetime to build, and it can be destroyed in a moment of indiscretion. And are there exceptions to my rule? Well, I suppose so. Some things just can't be easily resolved. But I'm speaking of the run-of-the-mill screw-ups for which you actually can feel remorse and know that you'll give it your best efforts never to do it again. So in terms of use it or lose it and making it actionable, first, ask for forgiveness as soon as you can after the screw-up. Second, take a deep breath after the screw-up and give yourself a moment to reflect on how serious the screw-up was. And the third is make a plan so you don't repeat that screw-up in the future. And when to use it? Well, whenever you screw up in your life. And what do you think? Well, how would you handle screw-ups in your life? And would the advice that we just gave you work for you in certain situations? And if so, please share your thoughts in the comments below. And before we go, make sure you read our other blog posts. And if you have a friend who may like our blog posts, please share them. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed to our weekly newsletter, please do so. Until next time, remember, prime your pump.